This is World Beat News, Ontario's #1 news program.
Tonight, Canada's Ben Johnson smashes the world record in Rome. A Scarborough landmark goes up in flames. And the CAW gets a strike mandate from the rank and file.
Now here's Lynn Elioff, Tim Weber, and the award-winning CFTO News team.
Good evening. It was the showdown he had been waiting for, and today Canada's Ben Johnson proved he is indeed the fastest man on earth. Pitted against arch-rival Carl Lewis at the World Track and Field Championships in Rome, Johnson shattered the world record in the 100-meter final, streaking to victory in 9.83 seconds, 1/10 of a second better than the previous world mark. CFTO's George Bryson will have details on Johnson's victory in Rome coming up on Sports in a few minutes.
100-meter final at the World Track and Field Championships. Ben Johnson rated as the fastest in the world against Carl Lewis of the U.S., who considers himself the fastest. Today, there is no doubt Johnson is the fastest man at that distance, and with the new world record, Ben Johnson is the fastest ever. The previous world record was 9.93 seconds, Johnson's previous best 9.95. And although Johnson had a better career time in past, Carl Lewis of the United States announced prior to the event that he would beat Johnson in the final. An 8-man field, all eyes on Johnson in lane 5, and at his side in lane 6, Carl Lewis. When the gun went, Johnson exploded out of the blocks. He won in a time of 9.83 seconds. That is 1/10 of a second better than the world record in an event that is measured in hundredths of a second. Lewis matched the old record, finishing in second place. Ray Stewart of Jamaica finished third. But again, Ben Johnson sets a new world record, 9.83 seconds. He is truly now the world's fastest man.
But our top story tonight is about a true champion, a true Canadian champion. For 11 years, Ben Johnson of Toronto has been training to become the fastest man in the world. For the last few years, the only man who stood between him and that title was the flashy Carl Lewis of the United States. 4 times this year, Johnson has beaten Lewis in the 100 meters event. But Lewis, with all the hype and the power of the American mass media behind him, refused to admit he was beaten. It all came down to one race at the World Track and Field Championship in Rome today. And when that race was over, not only had Johnson run Lewis into the ground, he'd also smashed the existing world record. Tension built in Rome's packed Olympic Stadium as race time approached. The two runners ignored each other while warming up. Then they lined up side by side, Johnson in red, Lewis in blue. The crowd turned silent. As usual, Johnson exploded off the starting line. He led right from the beginning. Lewis finished strong, but Johnson blew across the finish line well out in front. At 9.83 seconds, he smashed the world record by a full 1/10 of a second. Johnson was congratulated by a Jamaican sprinter who finished third. And even arch-rival Carl Lewis stepped up to shake the winner's hand. And shortly after the race, we reached Ben Johnson in a noisy tunnel leading out of Rome's Olympic Stadium. Because of that noise, it's sometimes difficult to understand some of what Ben had to say, but we thought you'd like to hear our champion anyway. Ben Johnson, let me start by congratulating you. You must be feeling very good right now.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the race. 9.83 seconds, that goes by awfully fast. Try and take us through the race a little bit if you can. Right from the moment you were in the starting blocks, what was going through your mind? Tell us about that.
Well, what was going through my mind is trying to get to the finish line first of anybody, of the field. I'm trying to do my best. When I first came off the blocks, my first reaction off the blocks, I knew it was a worker because I came out clear, and the first 20 meters, I was ahead by 1.5 meters. And I reached my top speed early as possible, about 45 meters, where normally I usually go top speed at 60. To win this race, I said myself, I have to go top speed at 45 meters as quick as possible and trying to maintain its speed, because I know Carl Lewis always come back at the last 40 meters and I want to take any chances.
Well, were you worried at all in those last 40 meters?
No, I wasn't worried because I know he was at least 2 minutes behind. The way I was between 50 and 60 meters, I was very in top speed, and I know he was coming, but I also changing the gear the last 20 minutes to go, so there's no way he's going to come back from that position.
Do you think it's finally over, this very testy rivalry you two have had? Do you think it's all very clear now that you're #1?
Well, I'm confident that I'm one of the best sprinter I've ever seen. I was born with the best when I was a kid, and I was trying to improve.
Well, no one can doubt you on that. What's next, Ben? What now?
Well, I got 6 meets after this meet, and 4 in Italy, 1 in Tokyo, 1 in London, 1 in Monte Carlo. And after that, take a break and go to Hawaii, go in the sun, and then get ready for next year's season, for the Olympic Games next year.
Record in the 100-meter race at the World Track and Field Championships in Rome. The event was seen by millions around the world, and his hometown is especially proud to share in his achievement. Deborah Lamb profiles this remarkable young man.
Ben Johnson sprinted into the history books yesterday. The kids from his old working-class neighborhood in North York weren't surprised.
It's not unspectacular. We knew he was going to win, of course.
And at his track and field club at York University, they agreed it couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
That was terrific. There's nobody I could wish success on more than Ben.
Ben Johnson joined this club when he was 17, and his natural ability soon had him shattering records, both the outdoor and indoor world sprint records, and he's won every 100-meter race he's entered in the past year. Now he's the fastest man in the world. He spoke to us by phone from Rome today.
I'm not the person who jump around and jump for joy, but deep down in my heart, I really pleased whatever thing I done last night. I'm very happy.
Tonight, his family is planning a small celebration. His sister admits she has a very talented brother.
But he doesn't do anything extra. I mean, he trains hard, but eat anything extra. No, we all eat the same food at the same time, everything. So, and he's like that, so I guess it's just natural for him.